So according to Chinese media outlets, a 44-year-old woman in Hubei province has been or will be reunited with her long lost baby brother. So
Okay.
we have to rewind back. 1993, their mom died from an illness. And then unfortunately, it seems, according to reports, the father really struggled mentally after that, and he just left his children.
Yeah.
The sister was 14 at most at the time. The baby brother was fairly young, a toddler. So they lost their home and they were forced to go out onto the streets. And because, as you can imagine, the younger brother one day was crying because he was so hungry.
Right.
And then an older man approached them and asked, oh, what's wrong? Well, she kind of explained, oh, my brother is hungry. And he said, oh, I'll buy him something to eat. I'll buy him some cake. And that's the last the sister saw of her baby brother. And she was wrecked with guilt. All these years, spent her entire life looking for her baby brother. And the thing is, she just had one picture of him from when he was a baby. Because, again, they had lost their parents.
Yes.
So that she made flyers with the photos, but nothing came out of it.
So, how did she find him after all these years?
Right, so at least we know this story has a happy ending.
Oh, thank goodness.
A turning point came when the police began utilizing AI for these missing persons cases.
Okay.
Because we've talked about this. You need manpower and time, many minutes and hours to look through CCTV footage. However, using mass data analysis and facial recognition, AI can comb through that data in a matter of seconds. So they finally found a man who matched that data. And of course, using AI, you can kind of analyze what that baby would look like later and then match that with, genetic markers on the woman's face. Turns out, though, that brother was sold to a human trafficking ring. He was abused, but he managed to run away. He was adopted into a different family, and he has now his own family. He's married with children. So because they're farther away, the police are working on them actually meeting in person, and that is due to take place. This winter, 9.8 million egg-laying chickens were culled because of bird flu, and that is the highest in 5 years. 150,000 pigs have been culled due to African swine fever, and that's about 5 times the number from last year. And this has led to a spike in food prices, namely eggs and pork directly.
Yes.
The price for these agricultural products went up by 6% last month. The average price of 10 eggs came to 3,893 won, meaning one egg roughly costs 400 won. Chicken prices also went up by 7.6% at 6,235 won per kilo. Pork prices have come to about 5 to 8% higher depending on the cut. Hanwoo prices have also spiked by up to 20%, and the primary reason has been pointed to the widespread culling of said animals.
That's right. So that's why when you go to the market and you're trying to buy 30 eggs, and you go, wow, that's expensive. Well, we're going to go to another medical study, and we have this term, 월요병, Monday malaise, Monday blues, if you will, but is this actually a pathology?
월요병 may not just be the blues, aka that would be an emotional state of being,
Right.
but actually could have an adverse impact on your health. What's wrong with Monday? So this is according to a study by a research team at the Catholic Kwangdong University. They analyzed the number of cardiac arrests, 심정지 cases, among adults that these cardiac arrests took place outside the hospital.
Okay.
So it wasn't just code blue for a patient who was hospitalized. So the team found that on the first workday after a holiday, be it a long holiday or a weekend, the number of heart attacks came in at 9% higher than all the other days.
That's telling to me.
All right, correlation. But specifically after a normal 2-day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, so on the Monday after, there was a 10% higher rate of cardiac arrest. After a 3-day holiday, 9% higher, 4 days or longer, went back up to 10% again.
Okay, well, we need some explanations.
All right, so there are possible reasons.
Okay.
Risks, 3 factors mainly, and they all have to do with what were you doing over the weekend? Drinking.
Okay.
Alcohol is, of course, a direct contributor to many physical symptoms. 부정맥, which is basically heart rhythm problems, arrhythmia.
Sure.
Secondly, people tend to kind of slack off, and I'm not even just talking about sleeping in, but forgetting to take your medication.
Over the weekend.
Because it is tied to the time you wake up,
Yeah.
and you just don't wake up for a very, very long time.
You're sleeping in.
Right, you're sleeping in, you might forget. So it's like blood pressure, diabetes, pre-existing conditions. And of course, when you go back to work Mondays, we do have that stress. And stress is a contributing factor to many, many diseases. So body and mind, and that could strain your heart health, cardiovascular health. So, the point being, if you have pre-existing conditions, if you're elderly and you feel things like chest pains, difficulty breathing or dizziness, and here's another problem, because things are closed on weekends or medical care is more expensive. So if you have these symptoms, regardless of what time it is, regardless of what day of the week it is, immediately seek medical help.
All right. It's about job numbers we have now for the month of February. Please, is it good news?
We have a mixed bag, but of course, isn't it always? So the rate of increase for newly employed persons recovered to 200,000 levels after 3 months. So according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics, their hiring report for the month of February, it showed that 28,413,000 people were employed last month, and that is up by 234,000 from a year ago. That is the biggest margin of increase in 5 months. And leading the pack was people in their 60s, by far at 287,000, followed by people in their 30s at 86,000. So a big jump. And those in their 50s at 6,000.
Yes. So you said it's a mixed bag. We need the bad news.
So the group that's not included in that increased rate, the youth, 15 to 29 group in the job market. There was actually a decline in the newly employed persons in this group by 146,000. In fact, the unemployment rate for people under the age of 40 marked a 5-year high for the month of February last month.
I see.
The unemployment rate for, again, those under 29 and those in their 30s, that came to 7.7% for those under 29 and 3.6% for those in their 30s. But a bit of good news, the ministry did have more of an optimistic interpretation, especially regarding the unemployment rate for those in their 30s, because unemployment rate is the rate of those without jobs amongst people who are actually looking. So that means a lot more people in their 30s are actually in the job market looking. And the experts and the officials are saying that this is actually an indicator of a more robust economy, that people are actually willing to be out in the job market.
I am curious about the different types of jobs.
Right. So one notable factor that the ministry noted was the decline of employment in science and tech services and also IT.
Okay.
Because this is such a broad field, officials are saying that they cannot give an exact growth and fall reports by sector.
Right.
But does AI play a role here? So that's a big question. Is AI actually taking away jobs? Well, yes. Are we seeing a notable impact? So they're going to have to monitor the situation on whether the decline of human hiring is kind of a temporary situation, or is it a larger pattern involving AI?
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for all the woggly stories. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
I'm going to strut out. Bye-bye.
Okay.